Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Mike Babcock situation with the Columbus Blue Jackets. After being hired just a few months ago as Blue Jackets head coach, Mike Babcock has already found himself in major controversy. But what's going on with Mike Babcock? What happened now? Well, we're going to be breaking down all the news, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you watch till the end for every single detail. And hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this, because you won't want to miss a thing. Now, for those living under a rock, Mike Babcock was hired as Columbus Blue Jackets head coach back in July after being fired from the Leafs job for a multitude of reasons, but later coming out that he had this whole list situation with Mitch Marner and all of the downfall there. He ended up being a college coach for a while, but went back to the NHL with Columbus and was looking like he was going to start a whole new fresh opportunity. A changed man. After all, we saw Mike Babcock in media a lot this offseason talking about being a changed person, being a changed coach, and hopefully having a much better relationship with his players going forward. In this Q&A article of NHL.com, it said it expresses intention to have the utmost respect for players in his new role with Columbus, and there's a few really interesting parts. Babcock has shared the story multiple times since becoming coach of the Blue Jackets on July 1st. He recognizes that there's been a disconnect with players in the past, and that he has been unaware of it in the moment, and then he needs to take steps to fix it in the future. His stint in Saskatchewan has inspired him to make a communications plan and a mental health plan for each player in Columbus, and he has asked everyone to let him know if something is wrong. So it seems like things have changed with Mike Babcock, that hopefully with him still being a pretty great coach, he could lead Columbus to the promised land. But just a few days into training camp, not even going into October, there's already controversy surrounding him. And from a clip of the Spittin Chiclets podcast, this is where it really all started. Mike Babcock has allegedly been asking various Blue Jackets players to see their phones, then airplaying their photos on his office TV. And this is what the Spittin Chiclets crew had to say.
This is outrageous, dude.
I get a text from a player. He goes, have you heard what Babcock is up to again? And I'm like, no. So he gets to Columbus, and one of the first things he does is he calls in Boone, the captain of the team, and he says, let me see the photos in your phone. I want to know the type of person you are. What the is going on?
Is that even legal?
It feels like it's totally illegal.
Get him on the podcast to grill him about his antics as a head coach. Like, worry about the forecheck. Worry about your personnel. Worry about getting the power play humming at an alarming rate so you might have a chicken dick's chance of sneaking in a wild card spot.
Now, to basically break down the allegations, apparently Mike Babcock in the first few days of training camp with Columbus went to players in the position of power he was in, asked for photos on their phone to see what they were up to this offseason, putting it up on the office TV, putting them on blast, and basically throwing their privacy away. That's basically what the Spittin Chiclets crew is saying here, that this happened to multiple players, and Paul Bissonnette would later say that multiple players were contacting him in this as well, but it did not look good for Mike Babcock whatsoever. Going to Aaron Portzline of The Athletic, there was a couple of really interesting tweets after the fact. He said Columbus are aware of these allegations and looking into them. No official response yet. Babcock and Jenner have not immediately responded to requests seeking comment. There is also this tweet from Aaron Portzline saying, told that the NHL Players Association is looking into the Babcock allegations as put forth by the Spittin Chiclets podcast. So because of these allegations, the NHLPA is coming in and taking action. And already for Mike Babcock, who's had so many problems in the past, so much drama, to have this type of situation already is a big distraction and not a good look for the start of the Blue Jackets season, especially with how much turmoil there was last season, how bad that team was last season. They were looking to turn a page, and already, unfortunately, Mike Babcock has become a distraction in and of himself. And these allegations were really disappointing to hear, especially, again, with the problems he's had in the past and the consistency he's had in them and the apologies he's made in the offseason. All of the speculation about how he would do with Columbus, he was answering those questions. He was trying to be as direct as humanly possible, trying to make things better for the mental health of his players, and directly addressing that with almost every single interview, because really that was the big question, is how would his relationship be with NHL players again? Would he be able to steer back in the right direction, get rid of some of those antics that he's had in the past? That was really the big thing, because we all know the coach that Mike Babcock can be. We can see the success that his teams have had. And in Columbus, that was likely to continue, but the drama was always the big thing. If he could keep out of that, then that would be perfect, but already at the beginning of training camp, it's already a problem. Now, what's interesting, we also had Mike Commodore, of course, huge Babcock hater, but also has good reasons to be, says this, all of this is 100% true, quote, tweeting the Spittin Chiclets clip. I heard that the exact same incident out of Columbus 6 weeks ago. Recently, I've heard about it happening to multiple players and staff. I was waiting until camp to come out with it to protect sources. So again, I guess more of a confirmation from Mike Commodore, at least, that this is happening. This is something that is going on in the locker room and has been a problem to some players. And it was a crazy morning. It was basically the meme of the morning, this whole Mike Babcock situation, and pressure was quickly mounting for the Columbus Blue Jackets to do something, save any face possible, and they eventually would release a PR statement. And here's where things get interesting, because before we just had, of course, Biz's side, Mike Commodore's side, some sources, and I would say for Biz, I mean, he's got a lot of connections in the NHL among players, and I feel like there was at least a couple of players there that were probably not exactly enthused about that, and that spilled in over to Spittin Chiclets. If there wasn't anything, I don't think they would have just made something up. I don't think it would have gone that far low, but I feel like it was a really interesting situation to see what would happen next with Columbus. We already had the investigation. What would Columbus do? Well, their statement was fascinating because not just Mike Babcock, but also the captain of Columbus, Boone Jenner, spoke. And here is the statement by the Columbus Blue Jackets saying, Blue Jackets head coach Mike Babcock and center Boone Jenner have released the following statement. And here is where it gets spicy, folks. Mike Babcock has a couple of really interesting things here to say, and he says this: while meeting with our players and staff, I asked them to share off their phones family pictures as part of the process of getting to know them better. There was absolutely nothing more to it than that. The way this has been portrayed by the Spittin Chiclets podcast was a gross misrepresentation of those meetings and extremely offensive. Those meetings have been very important and beneficial, not only to me, but for our players and staff as well. And to have them depicted like this is irresponsible and completely inaccurate. So from Mike Babcock's standpoint, basically just tearing into the Chiclets podcast, basically saying that yes, those meetings did happen, and yes, there were pictures exchanged, and that wasn't wrong, asking to see what might be off their phones, their families, whatever that might be, but saying that it wasn't an invasion, it wasn't, seeing any other pictures than that, and seeing any personal matters, nothing absolutely crazy, nothing more than family pictures, nothing than a request of family pictures, what their life is like, how it's going, and to really know them and to really get introduced to them. And if that's what it is, if that's the case, if it was just family pictures, then absolutely, this is a deserved statement by Mike Babcock to stand up for himself there. Obviously, he knows the reputation he has. He's had to answer for his reputation so much this offseason, and if it was just family pictures, that totally makes sense, and I would not be surprised if other coaches have done that in the past as well, and that wouldn't be an invasion at all. That would be perfectly fine, and even though there might be some players that would be a little bit weirded out by like really, you're gonna make me get out my phone and stuff, still, that's, again, not the worst thing that could ever happen, and especially for Mike Babcock as a new head coach, those things do need to happen to know your team, to know the players you're handling. And then we go on to Boone Jenner, the captain of Columbus, speaking his thoughts on this whole situation. He said, while meeting with Babs, he asked me about my family and where I'm from, my upcoming wedding, and hockey-related stuff. He then asked if I had pictures of my family, and I was happy to share some with him. He showed me pictures of his family. I thought it was a great first meeting, and good way for us to start to build a relationship. To have this blown out of proportion is truly disappointing. Now, here's the thing. From Boone Jenner, he has no reason to lie here, and to me that is the, I guess the biggest thing I would take away from all this. You got Biz and Mike beefing, but Boone Jenner is, I guess, the most unbiased standpoint here as captain of Columbus, trying to lead by his example. He's only going to say what he's known, and to me, I can absolutely understand Mike Babcock just, asking that of a player like Boone Jenner, a veteran, a captain, just trying to be as respectful as humanly possible. I don't see Boone Jenner lying at all here. I don't see that as pure fluff at all from Boone Jenner specifically, but I do think there is a chance, and again, this is just allegations, of course, of what we saw before, that it could just be maybe a player like Boone Jenner or some of the veterans having experiences like this. Maybe he was a little bit more invasive on the younger players, and maybe that's who talked to Biz in the end and started this whole drama in the first place. That, to me, might be the most likely thing here. Of course, you have Biz and you have Mike Babcock basically having two complete different sides of the story, and most of the time it likely meets in the middle. To me, I think Boone Jenner absolutely is in a position where, yeah, nothing probably was that crazy, showing pictures of his family and everything, was probably pretty respectful, but we've seen Mike Babcock having a so-so relationship with younger players throughout his NHL career. Obviously going to be a college coach, that changes things a little bit. Maybe he learned a little bit there, but maybe for the younger younger players, it was more offensive to them. Maybe it was more of a breach of privacy. Maybe it wasn't a question they wanted to be asked. Maybe they didn't want their coach looking through their phone and putting pictures up on the big screen. You know, that could be something that could happen, and that could be something that, you know, makes this completely different. For Boone Jenner, though, there's no way he's lying. There's no way he's not telling the truth. It's exactly just his experience and what he's putting out there, but it doesn't immediately discredit what we've seen. Mike Babcock could be just talking about a specific situation. And again, there could have been times where he went over the line or maybe looked at pictures that weren't supposed to be looked at by younger players or something like that. Other players that could just be just not liking the situation. And that could be perfectly fine as well. To me, with what we've seen, I'm kind of on nobody's side right now, just waiting to see what happens. And again, it's all allegations, and it's something that we'll likely see more info coming out in the future. As of right now, though, Mike Babcock doesn't exactly have the greatest reputation, but I'm not going to try to dog on him as much as possible. It is a crazy situation if the Spittin Chiclets side is true, but I could see how it could be, you know, family pictures, but also could be a little bit aggravating for other players that aren't Boone Jenner. Let me know, though, in this situation, are you on Mike Babcock's side? Are you on Biz's side? Are you on nobody's side? Are you meeting me in the middle? Let us know down below your thoughts. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you enjoyed the full breakdown, everything up to now that we know about Mike Babcock and his situation with Columbus, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online. Get it to all the hockey, all the Columbus fans out there. Get them the news, and click on this card for all the NHL news content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Drink some water, have a good one, and goodbye.